It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview an Army men's head gymnastic coach, Dr. Doug Van Everen. How are you doing today?
Good, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into college coaching?
Well, I wasn't quite sure I actually did want to get into college coaching, to be honest. But back in, after I was graduating from my undergraduate degree, I kind of rolled into a club situation, and it was just a different job altogether. And then after almost less than a year, the head coaching position opened up at San Jose State, and I still wasn't sure I even wanted to do anything with gymnastics at all. But threw my name into the hat, and that's how I got going.
What was it like coaching the USA national team in 95 and 96?
Well, that was mostly, I had qualified one of my athletes here, probably one of our best kids, quite frankly, that made the U.S. senior national team. And so when you actually have an athlete on the team, you're a national team coach. There were some events that could have potentially taken place, but it never really worked out with the cadets schedule and so forth at West Point. And so, we got him to that point, got him on the team, put a good feather in his cap, and then we called it a day.
What was it like, obviously, your coaching experience at San Jose?
Pardon me?
What was your coaching experience like at San Jose State?
Oh, it was great. It was just a lot of fun. I was able to build up a pretty big team, and, we qualified to nationals one time. Just some great student athletes. It was some of the most fun memories I have coaching, really, just getting going. And the people at San Jose were just so good to me. So it was a great time.
What was your transition like from San Jose State to obviously Army?
Well, interestingly enough, my first son was born in San Jose, and at the time, my wife was a guidance or like a marketing executive person, and I was coaching, and so with the commutes one way or the other, all of a sudden we realized, okay, we have this kid that's bebopping in the middle of us, and it just seemed like maybe we could get our feet on the ground a little more, trying something different. And so that was it. It was, I loved being at San Jose, and really it was more just the opportunity at the time at West Point that opened up. And it was like, well, let's give it a try. We'll see. We'll see. It's not like we have to stay there forever. We can just give it a try.
What is it like knowing, obviously, when you said you were going to give it a try at Army, and now looking back at your career, what has that been like for you?
Well, West Point has been a wonderful place to raise a family, and really, we've been well supported. The gymnastics team, the leadership amongst the various superintendents and athletic directors have been just awesome. They've really taken us under their wing. They've given us the kind of support so we can really excel at a high level. And that's definitely one of our big selling points, recruiting wise and so forth, is that we do have tremendous support, and it makes a difference for sure.
What was it like in 2005, obviously hosting a NCAA tournament?
It was chaos. No, actually, so one of the things that I started like early on at West Point was the West Point Open. It's a gymnastics open, and we started it in '92. And what happened was that the alumni started to come and support the event, and it grew and grew and grew. And so we had this backbone of support, essentially like alumni that would come in, fly in, and they would help in all aspects of running these events. Well, as it turned out, when we hosted the championships in 05 the first time, that we had our staff ready to go. So, beyond, the chaos of running a national championship, we definitely had the people that knew what they were doing. And so it was a lot of fun. It was fun, but it's also just crazy amount of work and stress and so forth. But, it was worth doing enough because we ended up doing it a couple more times afterwards. So.
What are some of your biggest accomplishments, obviously, with Army Gymnastics?
I'd probably say the biggest thing that I've been involved with is an endowment for the program. So we started that about almost 18 years ago. And, in any higher level program, the prevalent model certainly is to try to become as self-sufficient as possible. And I've tried to do that all along the way, but having an endowment that can help you fund your program and so forth into the future for future generations has always been a goal. And so we started that process. It was a long process. I had some good, really great people helping me with it. But after the first 5 years, we had $1 million, and then another 5 years, we had another $1 million, and then we got another $1 million, and then we got some other support. And so we're kind of creeping up now, 18 years later, up to about $5 million in that so for me, that's probably one of the most rewarding things that I can think of, beyond the obvious, just graduating some wonderful kids that are going out and doing amazing things in the military and the civilian world.
Of course, what is a typical game day like for you?
Well, okay, so when we have a competition, it depends, if it's away or home, obviously, but they would they're going to go to class and so forth. And then if depending on the competition start time, we may have to get them out of class early, or arrange like a meal or something beforehand. And then of course they get there a couple hours before the start of the event. We go through the warm-ups and so forth, and then the competition begins. And basically around 2 hours ish is usually a typical time.
Who are some of the people in your conference that you have in your competitions?
Well, so we kind of go all over the place. I mean, we do the All Academy Championships with Navy and Air Force, and then we do a home and away with Air Force. We always flip-flop with Navy. We do the same with Penn State, and then some of the other teams like William and Mary and Springfield and so forth, we'll hit them as well. So it keeps us pretty busy. I mean, we generally have about anywhere from 10 to 12 competitions a year.
Of course, can you talk about what the big difference is between playing Army and Navy game versus going to Penn State and playing Penn State?
Well, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of difference. I mean, you're trying to get as prepared as possible, and you want to put your kids in a position to be successful. So, what we're doing now is really getting us ready to be, successful in January and February and so forth. So it's a long process to really gear up to get these guys ready to go. And so, the Army Navy competitions, as a whole, I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot about getting them riled up about it. I mean, it's obviously a big deal no matter what sport you're in. So, for us, it's more just getting them ready to do their job. And if they do that, then let the chips fall where they may.
What are some of the things that you implemented, during the COVID, that you're going to take over this coming season?
Well, that it's been a challenge. There's no doubt about it. Like the whole COVID thing last year, we had, some virtual competitions and so forth to try to qualify to nationals and so forth. But for me, it's more about like having these kids. They come into the gym and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be like an environment that they can thrive in. And so for that to actually happen, they've got to trust what's going on, trust the plan. They know we're caring and supportive, and we're basically trying to push them and get them in a position so that collectively we can like crank as a team and get that synergy going. So we're just firing on all cylinders. So, as far as like what we've learned from COVID, it's basically sucks.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have built for the men's gymnastic program at Army?
Sure. They're great kids. And so the alumni, and I tell our kids all the time, I mean, they have the responsibility to the alumni to do great things, whether it be in the school, militarily, academically, and certainly gymnastically, to be able to represent the academy in really a great light, to make them proud. And, certainly with all the support we've gotten from the alumni for the endowment and so forth, which have given us the opportunity to raise the bar and to have some pretty cool stuff and essentially have one of the best facilities in the country, without a doubt. And so for me, it's like making sure that those guys appreciate the opportunity that they have, and not one day goes by where they wouldn't be grateful that they are in the position that they're in.
What is the recruitment process like for prospective student athletes, and particularly prospective candidates of going to Army?
Well, typically we like focus in on like some of the top kids from the junior national championships. So in some regards, it's a little bit like swimming, where you have like a pretty good list of where people are hashed out and so forth. But as far as that, we kind of whittle that down and try to get through and find the kids that have the academic credentials to get in, and then the medical, if there's any issues in that regard, and then, bring them on a visit, let them see. I mean, I don't like, bug people to come to West Point at all. What I do encourage them to do is apply and come out on a visit and then see for themselves. I mean, what you see is what you get. They're not like, when we have visits, there's nothing special. It's just what we do. And if that fits these kids and what they're interested in, then they'll come. And the big thing is like, I guess I just tell them, if you come here, you're going to have fun. You're going to work hard, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be rewarding.
What is it like to see, obviously, the candidates that are freshmen enter, obviously, West Point and then go on to serve the military after their 4 years?
Well, like when freshmen come in, sometimes there's a percentage of them anyway that they'll struggle a little bit that first year. So whether it be just adapting to the whole rigors, the stress, the sleep, the studies, and so forth. And so we try to kind of bridge that gap there for a while. There's some kids that really, it's no big deal at all, but like by and large, you're going to have some kids that'll definitely be a little slower to get them rolling. But as far as the whole process, I mean, there's just so much support structure in place at West Point, So we've got officer representatives that help with academics. There's like the Center for Enhanced Performance, which works on all aspects of academic and mental enhancement, any sort of physical therapy, training, orthopedics, you name it. But the bottom line is like getting these guys, moving them forward, and then graduating them. And so I'm proud of our graduates. I mean, they're all over doing great things. I mean, we've got like a bunch of doctors, we got like, helicopter pilots, engineers. I mean, you name it, like they're out doing just incredible things. So it's a group to be proud of for sure.
What advice would you have people looking to get into, obviously, playing gymnastics and the college level?
Well, first of all, we don't play gymnastics, we compete, but that's okay. You know, like again, most of the kids that we're recruiting are they're very good. And so they've got a lot of opportunities to go wherever they want. And so it's really whether or not they fit that niche that they want to come here and they want to study. They're good and interested in the military piece of it. And that whole like 3-prong approach that West Point does with the physical, academic, and military, all those pillars, if that's like what they want to do, then it's like, it works for them like beautifully.
What advice would you give college coaches looking to get into college coaching men's gymnastics?
Don't, no. It's just been a tricky time. A lot of Olympic sports over the years have taken, some pretty good hits. And, over the COVID with budget cuts and so forth, we lost a couple significant programs which really limit the opportunities. And so that's been a bummer, but we've also added 2 new teams in the NCAA program. So, hopefully we can like kind of start building and changing the trajectory a little bit as far as that goes. But, I mean, being a college gymnastics coach is like the best thing in the world. I mean, I haven't had to work my whole life.
What advice would you give people looking to get from, obviously, when they end their Army career, getting into coaching college?
Well, surprisingly, some people do, just because there's like a big demand for, people that have a background in gymnastics. So I know several of our alumni that are working in professional fields outside of the military, but also coach a little bit on the side, just in their local communities and work with the kids. So, having that background, it doesn't go away. I mean, it might get a little rusty, but like, once you have it, you know what you're doing, and you can really, you can change lives by helping out.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Army men's gymnastics program at?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What'd you say?
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Army gymnastics men's program at?
Oh, well, so obviously the website, in the athletic department, Go Army Sports, West Point Sports, and then all, the Twitter accounts and all that stuff. We try to get that like fired up pretty good. We also do some newsletters and things like that for a lot of our alumni and supporters and so forth. So if people wanted to get their name on that list just for information more specific, then certainly, you'll be able to let me know.
That's wonderful. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Army men's gymnastics.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. My pleasure. Have a good day.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.